Good evening. It's Monday, October 20th, 2025, 5 p.m., Hibbing City Hall. Council chambers, we are here for the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. For roll call, all commissioners are present. Let it also be known that Pat Green and Tina Glad are also here, along with Director Betsy Alavanti with Community Development. That being said, we're looking to approve the Board of Adjustments and Appeals minutes for July 7th, 2025. No any corrections, additions, or deletions, if any.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Section 2, Part B, approve the Board of Adjustments Appeals for minutes for August 18th, 2025. Note any corrections, additions, or deletions, if any. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. I'll second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 3, acceptance of the agenda. Acceptance of the agenda for recording purposes, noting additions, deletions, or changes, if any. We have one addition of the Range Regional Airport zoning for new business.
Nope, that's under open discussion.
That's open discussion, okay, all right. Scratch that, so just the one thing for HRA. I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So, okay. All right, number 4, new business, convene the public hearing scheduled at this time to consider a variance request of the HRA of Hibbing, 3115 7th Avenue East, Hibbing, Minnesota, 55746, to vary a minimum number of required parking spaces from 2 parking spaces to 1 space per dwelling unit in the R3 multiple family residence districts of the Hibbing City Code of Ordinances on the subject property, 630 New Haven Drive, Hibbing, Minnesota, 55746. The parcel ID code number is 139-0050-04676. Staff report, I do believe.
Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance to the City of Hibbing off-street parking spaces for apartment units. The number of spaces required for 52 units would be 2 per unit or 104 parking spaces. The applicant is requesting 68 spaces. The reason for this is that the tenants are allowed 1 parking space per unit, and that has worked out for them over the years at HRA's current location. The other reason would be impacting more wetland areas at the new location for additional parking spaces. The applicant is in the audience, and I'll turn it back to you. No conditions at this time.
Okay. Have the applicant please step forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jackie Prescott. I'm with the HRA of Hibbing at 3115 7th Avenue East.
You look like you want to say something, so I'll let you go first.
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right, not yet. I noticed in your deal, you don't have any plans for possibly visitor parking.
Well, there would be additional 13 spots, so we would have that. We just would assign each unit 1 spot,
Okay.
as what we're currently doing.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any questions for her?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
As far as staff goes, are there spots, then do you use some of them spots too, or do you have other Terry, you park when you're working on it or stuff like that?
Yes, for that we worked with fire, just because of the location and the positioning. So the 3 spots essentially coming back on the backside of the lot would be for staff during the day. So we'd be able to move quickly should there be a fire. So we do have 3 designated spots, but a lot of times our maintenance team will pull up like close to the maintenance door and in our other buildings and then park there.
Is
So-
that part of this?
No, that's not a
It's
labeled a
in
parking
addition
spot.
to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, for when they're doing work, but when we have office during the day, we do have 3 spots in the back.
Okay. That's all I have.
Joe? Corey?
Chair. Has it been designed to fit in for 2 spots and you realized how much square footage of the additional wetland had to be used?
Well, the wetland restricted us from the beginning, so we maximized what we could without impacting too much of the wetlands. Did that answer your question?
I wanted to know if you had to have 2 spaces, what additional square footage of wetland would be needed?
It would be significant. I don't know if you guys were able to see the site plan. So I brought some today for you, if you'd like me to distribute them. Now, the writing's very small on there, but I'll give you an idea.
Is it this, Jackie?
I just got the most updated one, we just officially announced it, so.
Is that the one with 1?
That's the one with 1.
We have that,
Yes, you do have this one?
yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so no.
So you haven't designed it just to see how much more square footage you would need for wetland if you had 2 parking spaces per unit?
Well, that would require more wetland delineation. So no, they have not. I don't know if Betsy, if you want to speak to any of this?
Square footage would be pretty close to double of what they have.
Yeah.
And then
And it would be all wetland impact?
Yes.
it
Yes.
appears,
All that we
yeah,
have-
from the wetland
Yeah, this
map
is-
and report, it has.
All right. The people that are in the current units now, they're going to be relocated to this?
Yes.
Were they queried as far as do they need or would want 2 parking spaces?
Well, I've met with the residents several times during the whole process, so they are aware of how many parking spots are available, but currently we've only had 1 per unit.
Right, you only have 1 per unit, but was there a desire for 1 or more tenants to have 2?
Not that was expressed to me, no. That really wasn't any of their concerns that were brought up. But did we have a direct conversation about that? No, I did let them know that it would look very similar to what they have now, which, quite frankly, if we had someone that needed an accommodation, we do have 13 additional spots that we could essentially assign. But typically, when you look at our building mix, or our unit mix, we have 5 4-bedrooms, I wrote it down to be sure, and then 13 3-bedrooms, and those would really be the only one. Hold on, so let me pull my map here. So I'm sorry, we have 8 3-bedrooms and 5 4-bedrooms. Those are a total of 9 units, which potentially would need an accommodation for an extra parking spot. But to be quite frank, not all of our residents even own a car. And we do have the bus actually stops that's gonna be set up to come right to our complex. So we have sort of factored that, but not all of our residents own cars even.
When that original facility was built, was the ordinance in place for 2 parking spaces and that a variance was gotten at that time?
That I don't know. They were built in 1952, so I'm not sure.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other commissioners have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this?
Commission Chair, Jim Paulson, 413 East 32nd Street, Hibbing, Minnesota. I am speaking for the variance for the HRA. I have been a neighbor to the current Haven Apartments for 27 years. I am the first residential house on 32nd Street from the apartments. And I can tell you it's a very rare occasion where I have residents or guests parking in front of my home. And that's going on 27 years. So if I was on this commission, I would have 0 reservations about approving this variance.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, no, okay, thank you. Anything else? Pat, any other comments or anything after what you've heard? There hasn't been a lot of parking tickets or anything regarding the other ones with parking, I noticed, and a lot of, that street that's designed coming into there, that's pretty wide that you could actually have some off-street parking going on the street coming in, correct?
Correct.
Running north-south there? Okay, all right. I guess we'll go to the finding of the facts. And we'll close the public hearing and go to the finding of the facts. So, section 1, in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance, I'd say that's a yes. Consistent with the comprehensive plan is a yes. And we'll go to the 1. The property owner proposes the use of the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the zoning ordinance. The board agrees with the applicant's evidence affirmed the above. And she wrote down, current residents only receive 1 parking spot per unit. Need for 2 per unit not demonstrated as in past. Does the board agree with that?
Yes.
Yes? Yes. Okay. And 2, the plight to the landowner is due to the circumstances unique to the property not created by the landowner. The board agrees with the applicant. Property owner. The plight to the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property owner not created by the landowner. The board agrees with the applicant evidence affirming above by saying yes or no, and her response was the wetlands surrender property percentage additional to parking, so she's having issues with wetlands, and that's why she's asking for this. And as a board, do we agree, yes or no? I'd say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, the variance, if granted, will not alter or the essential character of the locality. She wrote, the need for 2 spaces per unit is not demonstrated under the current conditions of where these people are moving to and moving into. So as a board agrees the applicant's evidence affirmed by yes or no, I'd say yeah, that's a yes.
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 So, okay. And is there any other discussion?
I will be holding my motion because I am a commissioner for the HRA board.
Okay, so you're gonna abstain?
Abstain.
Okay,
Chair, I'll
Yes.
make a motion, we move ahead with this variance.
okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I know we have 1 to abstain. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. New business.
Do you want to let her know it doesn't have to go to council?
It does not have to go to the council?
This is
No.
fine.
Okay, all right. All right, now we're to open discussion.
So, open discussion here.
Yep,
Just a little update. 2 to 3 years ago, the airport board came to the city and to our office, and that they had to update the airport zoning or city ordinance for FAA requirements, new requirements and approval of the ordinance. And I think also in MnDOT. So we've had some joint meetings with the airport board on the zoning requirements. Betsy, myself, city attorney, Tina's been in them. And over the year and a half now, we've gone through the ordinance, different meetings, and come up with a final draft. And that will be coming to the planning commission, the new draft ordinance for approval, and then to the city council. Betsy, anything you want to add? And then we have a representative online, but that will do a little presentation.
Sure.
Yep,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair, members of the commission, two things that I would like to add. One, this new ordinance needs to be passed in order for funding to continue to flow to our airport authority in the manner that it has in prior years. And two, this isn't a significant change to the current ordinance. The prior ordinance was really well done. There's a few tweaks on this one, but they missed a step sending it through to the commissioner of the DOT for approval. And so that one, last little step is the thing that we're going to accomplish with this revamp this time. So that achieving that last step will allow funding to continue to flow to our Range Regional Airport, which is really important for them. So those are the only two things. Thank you.
There we go, we got a
Hello,
picture.
everyone. Kelsey Reeves with RSNH. I am an aviation planning consultant who's been working to help craft an updated airport zoning code for Range Regional Airport. I can't hear you because of some technical difficulties, but I'm assuming you can hear me, and Ron is going to tell me if you can't for some reason. So I'm going to count on him for that. But I wanted you to be able to see me first so you can know that I am indeed a person, and but I will be sharing my screen here to show you a presentation. I do appreciate your time. I'm here on behalf of Barrett Zemer, the airport director, who unfortunately couldn't attend, so I'm going to do my best to do him right and present this well. So I'm going to switch over and share my screen now. And I'm going to assume everybody can see it. I can see it on the screen, so I'm pretty sure you probably can too. So I will try to make this as painless as possible. 3 steps here, looking at what the zoning code process was and the outcomes. I know you have Pat and Betsy in the room, so even though I can't hear you to answer questions, I know that they're very, very capable of answering any questions. In fact, I think they probably already gave you a heads up on what some of this information is. So I'll get through this as painlessly as possible. Talk about the proposed ordinance updates and then what the next steps are. And just to do a quick recap, I think Ron was saying that Betsy was doing this a little bit, but I'll work through it. Airport zoning, you may or may not know, is required by the state of Minnesota. So every airport that reaches a certain threshold to the public has to have airport zoning in place to protect the utility of the airport and the investments by the state and the federal government in the infrastructure. So what happens is they offer an option to have standard zoning, or you can do customized zoning, and that is exactly what we are working through in this process. And in that, which follows Minnesota Statute 360.0656, there is the creation of what's called a JASB, so a Joint Airport Zoning Board. In your case, the city actually recognizes it as a committee, but there to accomplish the same thing, which is coordinating across all jurisdictions that are impacted by airport zoning to make sure that one uniform ordinance is enacted and enforced across those jurisdictions. The MnDOT commissioner does review and approve all custom zoning, and the MnDOT will not fund airports that do not have zoning protections in place, again, to preserve the utility of their investment. So I don't know the full details of exactly what happened because it was quite some time ago, decades even, but you have an existing code that's adopted locally. Obviously, you probably know that. But the process itself, at some point, somehow failed to meet the state procedural requirements. And that's exactly why MnDOT recognized that it needed to go through, we need to cross the Ts, dot the Is, and in the process, look at what is an aged code now to make sure it's up to snuff for current times. So we went through the custom zoning process, followed them, got a grant from MnDOT to do so, and that's what we're doing. The JASB itself has representation that is required, in this case, the Airport Authority, the City of Hibbing, St. Louis County, Cherry, and Lavelle Townships. And we also often encourage the participation of a local attorney representing the city or the airport to participate to make sure that everything has a good legal set of eyes to look over it. In this case, the two townships deferred to allowing the St. Louis County to represent them in the process. Aside from just the obvious goal of getting through the required procedures that MnDOT has in place and making sure it's formally adopted and accepted by the state, we wanted to look at how we can clarify some language related to airspace obstruction management, permitting requirements, and obstruction removal specifically. We wanted to simplify the permitting process by referencing existing regulations, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple slides ahead. And then finally, we wanted to look at where these zones are and what they're protecting, and is there a way, like, are they too restrictive, or is there a way in which we can look at boundaries that are maybe less restrictive without impacting, obviously, public and aviation safety? So there's a lot of words here, but it really boils down to what the three main zones are within the airport overlay ordinance. There's a zone A, which I suspect you're all pretty familiar with these, but it's the area right off the end of the airport that's protected from building anything because it's statistically the most probable location where an aircraft accident would occur, either an overrun or an undershoot off the end of the runway. So you don't want to put things there because you want to maintain safety. And then zone B is a little further off zone A, off the end of the runway center line. So the restrictions are still in place, but not quite as restrictive. This is where you don't want to build anything that's going to draw large crowds of people, places where we're referred to as vulnerable populations. You don't want to have those. And that's really schools, hospitals, and then, places that are going to draw people like theaters and such. And then finally, zone C, which surrounds the entire airport, which is the height restriction area. It's areas where you want to, make sure you're not creating interferences with, navigational equipment and, lights and glare and things that are gonna, make it unsafe for pilots to operate. So the short version is none of the restrictions in these zones and the new proposed update to the zoning code have changed. They're all the same. And I'm going to show you the map here shortly, but I kind of have to stop and say we were in the middle of the zoning process, the custom zoning process, and right smack dab in the middle of looking at how to, if at all, alter these zones, MnDOT released proposed new standards for their standard zoning. And while there's a few different things that it accomplished here, and it did go through, the big one that impacts Range Regional Airport is that zones A and B off the ends of the runway center line for runways over 6,000 feet, which is 1331 at Range Regional. They reduced them, so they actually made them smaller. So we went through the process and looked at that and said, well, is this something, if MnDOT says that this is safe for these types of runways, is this something we're interested in adopting? And the answer was yes, because here's what the existing code looks like. You can see the airport property boundary in a magenta color going around. Zone A is in purple. So that's where, no structures. And then zone B is the restrictions on gathering places and vulnerable populations and such. And then zone C is the yellow, which is surrounding, protecting for heights and navigational interferences. This is the existing code that you have today, and this is the new code according to the new MnDOT standards. It reduced the size, and I'll click back and forth a couple times just so you can see it. But it reduces the size of the zones and therefore, reduces the impact on the property owners at the ends of those runways. The one caveat to that is that because the airport just completed a master plan update recently, and as part of that, an airport layout plan update, which is like a graphical plan showing what the future development projects are for the next 20 years or so. That's something the FAA reviews and approves. On it, there is a runway extension of runway 1331 to the southeast. And that is why, if you look closely, you can see zone C actually slightly increases because it's based off that future approved, FAA approved runway length. In this case, a lot of undeveloped land is really impacted. So there's not really much of an impact at all. If I'm going to summarize this, and I'll try to do it as simply as possible, the point, I should stop and say, we have the updated proposed code is online. It's on the airport's website. Probably Pat or Betsy could share a link with you. I can do it if you need it afterwards. But it's on the airport website. You can download it. You can review it. You can see what the proposed changes are. But to look at them at a high level, the idea was to align with federal regulations. So there is regulation, Title 14, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 77, which is essentially a tool to allow for FAA review of development that's around airports to make sure that there's no conflicts to airspace that then again would create an unsafe operating environment for aviation. And what that does is it triggers a review process for any development to go through airspace review with FAA. That's not to say that, makes the development not happen. It's really just related to making sure if, for example, there's a tower, somewhere around the airport that it's properly lit, marked, and then it can be charted so the pilots know about it. So instead of regurgitating that, which is what the current code does, and it actually is regurgitating an older version of it because it has been updated in recent years, it instead refers to it so that you don't have to maintain the code and review and adopt and change it as time goes on and the code changes. The next thing we did is we added and improved some of the definitions that were within the code. And we also, I probably should put these two together, but we clarified the administrative procedures within the code and really defined what the roles of the local and county authorities were. Obviously, you noticed that we reduced the size of zones A and B, and we slightly increased the size of zone C. We also clarified some use limitations, some terminology, things like that were referred to as churches are now religious institutions and some things like that, so basic cleanup. And then added new sections which were referred to, but we kind of broke them out into their own areas for land acquisition, how the code is enforced, and then overall indemnification between the city and the county. It's a little more detail on this slide, but I'm not gonna, I think I said most of it, so I'm gonna skip past it, but we can share the presentation so you can see it too. And the next steps in the process would be a public hearing for formal code adoption, a property survey so we could provide the legal descriptions of the land and the exhibits for all the runway ends as part of the code, and then completing that administrative process to certify the code adoption. I don't have anything on here, but there is a public outreach process. There's mailers that go out to every property owner to let them know that there is, and Tina is actually pulling that stuff together so that everybody who's impacted by this is made aware of it and has a chance to come to the public hearing. There's multiple advertisements to be put out for the public hearing according to law. And then, of course, the hearing itself, where people can come and see and ask questions and speak. And that is everything I have, so I'm going to stop sharing and apologize that I can't answer questions, but hopefully Pat and Betsy got me covered in the room.
Okay, in the last 10 years, have you guys actually shortened the runway then? Is that why you guys are looking to reduce the safety zones on?
I can't hear it.
So he's not with the airport, though.
Yeah.
He's just representing them. He works for a company that's helping with the ordinance and stuff. So he's not with the airport itself.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
No, the runway protection areas outside of the runways were shortened by the organization that he indicated in here, MnDOT. So the runways have not been shortened at all. It's just the protection zones were shortened by the Department of Transportation
Okay,
based on new information that they have.
gotcha. It's okay for us to be proactive and have better protection zones. Better than what the federal's asking for, and it's not gonna hold anything up, correct?
Are you saying that we should tell the Joint Airport Zoning Committee that the Planning Commission would like to extend the protection areas? Or are you asking something
Just-
about that?
Yeah, just not really extending, but if our zones are better they are right now, keep them the way they are, don't shorten them. Because I could potentially see maybe somebody coming in right on an edge of a line, building the building, and then 20 years from now, maybe somebody wants to move in and lengthen the runway out. We got a building in the way or something in the way.
So
Why would we allow
the,
that?
the zoning areas that they are suggesting at this time do accommodate the lengthened runway. So there is no need to keep our expanded protection zones. It is prudent to follow MnDOT recommendations at this time and condense those zones.
Correct.
Okay,
So
good.
you don't have,
So we're gonna adjust the safety zones A and B to reduce them and expand C significantly. Why not just keep A and B right where they're at?
C is, well, A and B, that's where originally, I know. They left it to the experts on aeronautical,
Yeah,
safety zones, et cetera. So when somebody builds in C, let's say, they can only go so high. We have height restrictions in every zone. And then trees are what is sometimes fell into the A and B zone, where the airport themselves would make arrangements with property owners on, the height of trees, because those are the hazard zones. So reducing those hazard zones is better for the property owner, for height of buildings, et cetera, and what is permitted and what is not. There's nothing wrong with reducing that. C is the least restrictive, and the height requirement is higher there. It's higher for the FAA or the airport than it is for our zoning. We have for our height restriction in those zones.
yeah, on, like, for
We
example,
follow their professional opinion on
Yeah.
hazards.
They're the ones that know this type of information.
I just remember building a new transmission line around Solon Springs and the fact that it was in the Zone Z area. We had to change structures and lower our structures down, and that's understandable of why we had to do that, So I'm just wondering why we're trying to give up some potential, why we're reducing the safety zones at A and B. Why not just keep them the way they are? And we're exceeding the federal guidelines. We
Well, I
keep it
think
that way.
less restrictive is always better
Right.
for any development or project. And as long as their opinions are where these zones are, that's up to them. The city does not make we don't tell the airport how far the A and B are at the end of runways. That is, for them, their professional opinion.
Okay, that's all I kind of had.
So like Kelsey said, there's a process, so there'll be one joint meeting that will have, the city, so if you look at the, one map he has, it shows where the city of Hibbing, and then Lavelle Township and Cherry Township. So I'm going to be sending out notifications for all of those. The airport has sent me, the data for all of those. So I'm working through that right now. There's a lot of information there. But every property owner will be notified. Like if it was just the city of Hibbing, we would only, notify in the newspaper. That's all we have to do. But for the, aeronautics, their laws state that every property owner has to get a letter. So that's what I'm working on, sending a letter to every property owner. The airport did not want to rush this, which I'm thankful for because that gives me more time, because right now there's over 400 names. Some of those are gonna be duplicates as property owners have more than one piece of property, and I'm weeding through that. But they're going to plan for December 1st as the public hearing. And that again will be for City of Hibbing residents, for, Cherry Township and Lavelle Township. And so then, DOT will be here or be invited. Cherry Township, Lavelle Township, City of Hibbing, they'll all be invited to the same public hearing here. We have to publish it in 2 newspapers, 2 different times, I
Yes.
think. And so we're working on getting all that taken care of. But December 1st is what that public hearing date is set for this ordinance.
And you'll have the draft ordinance
Yeah.
that's we're trying to adopt.
Yeah. This right here, right now, is just kind of informational time for us to, someone ask questions and so on and so forth going forward, so.
Just to let you know what's
Yep.
coming.
Yep,
Correct.
so,
You don't want to go into a public hearing and that's the first time you've seen the new ordinance, so.
right. Anybody else have any other questions? Is that all we need to go through, Betsy? Pat?
Yep, on this
Yep, that's all
particular
that we had.
project, yeah. Yeah.
Nobody has anything else for open discussion? Hearing none, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn. Wait, okay,
He would like to say something to you guys.
Sure.
okay.
I think I'm live.
Yep.
I just want to say I appreciate, your time and consideration in this and giving us the opportunity to present it to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
His boss is Zimmer, right? Last name Zimmer?
No, Barrett Zemer is the executive director of the airport. Kelsey is a consultant for RSNH,
Okay.
which does the aeronautical engineering projects for the
Okay.
airport.
All right. I guess that's it. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's adjourned.